Hey YouTube! I'm so excited. I am here to do a review for If Loving You Is Wrong, Season 3, Episode 16, titled Rock Solid. Now, before I even get into this, let me do my spiel really quick. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. Please subscribe. I'm on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and I know I can make it with your help. For the returning subscribers, thank you so much for your support. I love you. And if you're new and you kind of like me within this first 30 seconds, you may as well subscribe. Okay? Now, we got that out the way. Now, let's get on into it. Okay, so the episode starts off where it left off, where Alex has just gotten off the phone with the doctor when the doctor was asking for Brad, and Alex lied and said he was sleeping. So at this point, Brad comes out of the restroom. He sees Alex getting off the phone, and he says, "Who was that?" Now, in this moment, Alex could have done one or two things. She could have lied, and if she lied, then their life would have went on as normal. However, because Brad talks to Marcy all the time, he would have eventually found out that they tried to get in touch with him, and Alex just omitted that information, which is another form of lying. Or she could just tell him the truth. Either way, it's a catch-22, stuck between a rock and a hard space. But Alex is kind of learning her lesson. She has decided to just go ahead and tell the truth, although she knows that it's going to result in her husband leaving and going to check on Marcy. So, unfortunately, that is exactly what he does. Brad immediately gets on his cell phone, calls Marcy. It goes straight to voicemail. Then he's asking Alex, his wife, for the doctor's number. Alex is like, "I have no idea." "Girl, you lying right there, but we're just gonna let that slide." And he's like, "What do you mean you don't know? Like, that's your doctor too. Like, didn't you have it in your cell phone?" She's like, "Yeah, but then my contacts got erased." I mean, I guess these are believable lies, but they're still lies. But it doesn't even matter, because in that moment, the doctor starts calling back on Brad's phone. So basically, the doctor explains to Brad that Marcy is having pregnancy complications, and really, she needs to calm her nerves. She needs to calm down. So she has requested that Brad comes up there with her. And of course, he runs every time she comes calling. Like, she's the damsel in distress, and he always has to be the knight in shining armor. So at this point, Alex is practically begging him not to go. And he's like, "I have to go. I have to go check on her." Then she's begging to go with him. And he's like, "I don't think that's a good idea." She's like, "Really? If she needs support, I can be there." And he's like, "Look, I'm not trying to be funny, but if she sees you, that's probably going to stress her out more." And so basically, he just ends up telling her, "I don't think it's a good idea, and you shouldn't come." And then he proceeds to leave his wife to go check on his mistress or other woman. At this point, I don't know. Is it Marcy that's the other woman or Alex that's the other woman? It's just all messed up. Okay, so then after Brad leaves, Alex decides, you know what? He ain't gonna tell me what to do. My husband gonna be up to the hospital, then I'm gonna be up to the hospital. So Alex proceeds to call a babysitter so the babysitter can come and watch the baby, and when the kids get home from school, so Alex can leave and go to the hospital. Okay, so then we get to Natalie and Lushion. So Natalie and Lushion, like, they just been dealing with drama and mess from other people, and even in their own family, like with her son and getting shot and being in the hospital, all this, they've been dealing with nothing but mess. And they haven't had, like, we time. We as in Natalie and Lushion. So at this point, like, Natalie is kind of like looking at Lushion like he's like a piece of meat. Like, girl, like, clearly, like, you're missing Lushion in every way possible right now. So she's like, "We haven't spent much time together," and she's kind of giving him like the sexy eyes, and he's kind of looking at her like, "Girl, what you trying to do?" And she's like, "I just feel like I'm so happy, like I'm so lucky. I mean, honestly, like, you really are a good man. When I look at all the men like that surround me, like that are in relationships or past relationships with my friends, like, let's look at Travis. He was a killer. Well, he was a stalker, and he was a killer, and he was just all around crazy. Let's look at Eddie. Eddie is certified crazy, racist, like every type of ist, negative, like every negative connotation, negative word you could come up with, that is Eddie. He has all types of problems. Esperanza deals with him. Then we have Randall, and Randall is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Like, he is legit crazy. And then we have Brad, who is just oh so confused, which rightfully so, but he just doesn't know whether he's coming or going. And then we have you. You don't cheat, you don't lie to me. And then she's like, you're supposed to be like, right, when I said I don't cheat. He was like, girl, I'm listening to you. She's like, you don't cheat, you're just a good man. You know, I feel like I got so lucky. You are rock solid. Now, a part of me is thinking, is this too good to be true? There always has to be a twist or turn to this show. And are we going to eventually find out something about Lushion? Although, I mean, we did find out that he was lying to Natalie. He didn't tell her that he was a part of the FBI. But that really wasn't like a bad thing. But she's basically bigging him up to be like this great guy. So I feel like, is it really like a picture perfect image like it appears to be? We don't know, but I hopefully so. But he is just like really kind of like turned on by her and how lovey-dovey she's being with him. And you know, they start like giving each other hugs and stuff and kisses, and then you feel like something is about to go down. Like, there's no kids in the house. He might have to be at work shortly, but they can make this happen. But then all of a sudden, there's a knock on the door, and it is Esperanza just blocking. Okay, so that's when Esperanza comes in, Lucian is like, "Let me leave anyway because I gotta be at work." So before he leaves, he gives Natalie a hug and a kiss. Like, dang, like Esperanza is looking like, "Did I interrupt something, girl?" Yes, you did. Okay. They barely get to connect with each other like that now because of everybody else's problems. But whatever. So he decides to leave out. I don't really understand Esperanza's purpose in coming over there, but I guess she was stopping by on the way to work. She even asked Natalie if she plans on going back to work, and Natalie's like, I don't know. I'm kind of enjoying this like whole housewife thing. We'll see. She's like, maybe I could be a housewife. I don't know. So basically they sit there, they discuss Justice and Justice's connection to Travis and how Travis had been having conversations with Justice. They even talk about Steven and her little fling with Steven, how she went out with him last night and then how she just kind of called it quits that morning. And then they just basically like catch each other up on everything at that point. Natalie also asked about Kelly, how Kelly is doing down to the jail, and she says that she thinks it's a good idea for Kelly to see her son Justice. Esperanza is like, Kelly said she doesn't want him to see her behind bars. And Natalie is like, I understand, but he needs to see her because she needs to explain to him what's going on. Nobody else but his mother. So, I mean, I understand Kelly. She doesn't want him to see her in that position, which, of course, maybe they can meet in an interrogation room or something, and she can talk to her son. But other than that, like, Natalie does make a lot of sense. Yeah, she already has to take on a lot of responsibility of taking care of Kelly's son, but at the same time, it would be best if his mother could explain to him in the way that she prefers what's going on, especially since it's going around the school for rumors. Okay, so whatever the case, Esperanza decides to head to work, and there's the end of that scene. So then we have Kelly. She has gotten out of her cell. She's in the interrogation room. Of course, at this point, we know she must be meeting with her lawyer, aka the public defender. So the lawyer comes in, and he basically tells her there's a deal on the table. Every time he comes around, she's freaking out. Like, okay, what's next? What's going on now? I'm not guilty, so I'm not taking a deal. And he's like, maybe you should listen. Maybe you should consider taking the deal because it's really not that bad. And she's like, I'm not taking a deal because I didn't do anything. And I'm thinking, Kelly, you did kind of tell him to come in the house just so you could kill him. I mean, I get it. It was self-defense, but people might argue you lured him in, although he was already stalking you. But since people already didn't believe that story, that's going to be hard to prove. But whatever the case, the lawyer is like, look, there's a deal on the table. The family doesn't really want a lengthy trial, so it's not a bad deal. They have a mountain of evidence against you, and I've looked into it, and you may want to really consider taking the deal. Then he also shows her the video of her admitting to Randall, oh, I wish I had a gun so I could bust your head open just like I did Travis. So, like, she was like, I said that out of anger. Yes, stupid, but you still said it. So it's kind of like you confessed to a murder, although you didn't do it under oath or anything, but they can still use it against you. So basically, he wants to tell her, look, the deal is life for both crimes. And she was like, deal? What kind of deal is that? And I'm thinking, yeah, like, I thought you was going to say, like, maybe like some years or something, maybe 10 years, but you just told her life for both crimes. So what in the world? Like, that's not a deal. Like, for the crime of, I believe, Ramsey and Travis, which she really didn't kill Ramsey. But whatever. She's like, that's not a deal. You know what? I'm not working with you. You know what? You're fired. Give me a real lawyer. He was like, you don't have any money, and that's why you're working with me. And I honestly think you really need to consider taking this deal. And at this point, I'm thinking, does this public defender have a connection to Travis's family? Does this public defender, is he like just trying to get information from her, but he's really not trying to help her? Because I feel like you claim to be such a good lawyer. What work have you done on like her part? You didn't even come in with another option. Like, look, this is the deal they're offering you. If you don't want to take this deal, I have these different scenarios that could happen. This is the best case scenario. This is the worst case scenario. But it's like the lawyer didn't do any legwork at all. He just basically said, look, they're offering you a life sentence. At least it's not death. And at least your son can come to jail and visit you, and, you know, you won't like be 6 feet under. And she's like, you know what? I'm so good on you. Get out. You're fired. I'm done with you. I will wait until I get another lawyer. Like, we'll figure out the money and all that. And he's just like, okay. And then he leaves. So I'm convinced that he's connected to Travis's family. Okay, so then we have Randall. Randall shows up at Ian's office looking for Larry. I mean, he's like super like eager and agitated at this point. Um, Ian says like he's going to like help Randall find Larry or whatever. And then Randall asks, like, you know, why were you at the restaurant the other night? Why were you there with Marcy? And then Ian basically just says little smart aleck comments because Ian has borrowed a fence because since he kind of has a thing for Marcy and he's developed like some type of connection with Marcy and Randall, he's just really easy to dislike. So he's just saying little smart aleck stuff back to him. And so then at this point, Randall realizes, hey, you must be interested in Marcy. And Ian is like, no, that's not true. You know, she's just a good person, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. He is interested. You can see right through that. So anyways, Randall gets back on subject and asks about Larry again. And Ian is like, I really don't know. So Randall is like, how long has he been missing? And then he said he hasn't been around for about a day and a half. And he's like, you don't think that's concerning? Like, did you not call his wife? And then what did he say? Ian was like, look, his wife kind of gets him into these things. Ian kind of has like, you know, like a history. So I will look into it. I will check on my friend. And then so Randall was like, okay, I'm just telling you, it would be a good idea to check on him. Larry pissed off the wrong person, basically. He pissed off Eddie, which Eddie is like a evil, like hateful, racist, like crooked cop that people are known to come up missing with him. So I really advise that you look into this. Ian is like, okay. So then Randall leaves out. Okay, so then Ian immediately gets on his phone and he calls Lushion. Lushion's at the station. He basically explains to Lushion that Randall thinks that Eddie may have something to do with Larry's sudden disappearance for a day and a half. He has missed 2 press conferences. He hasn't been in the office at all. he should really look into it. So then Lucian is like, okay, but then Ian asked him to look into it quietly, make sure that this is something that's done, like it's confidential between the two of them, because Larry is known to have a history with drugs, and sometimes his wife has caught him like with these drugs with other men or women, and we just really want to protect his image, especially since he is a great lawyer and a representation of our firm. So please do this for me. So Lucian says, okay, well, I'm going to ask one favor for another. If I do this favor for you, then I need you to help Kelly. So then Ian says, okay, if you do this favor for me and you get Larry for me, then I will get you to a really good referral. This guy will be really good. He should be able to help Kelly. He still can't do it himself, but he can actually give him a legit referral, which I'm like, I wouldn't even trust Ian's referrals at that point because his referrals aren't going through. Okay, so next thing we have is Eddie. He is in the storage truck, box truck, and remember, the last time we seen him there, he had like put the plastic bag over Larry's head and basically knocked Larry out, and Larry is chained to the truck and he is like passed out at this point. So he's gotten a kick out of torturing him for a day and a half. But at this point, he's just literally like standing there with his arms folded and he's watching him. So then Lucian calls Eddie. Eddie picks up the phone. Lucian basically gets straight to the point, like, where is Larry? And Eddie is like, who are you talking about? I don't even know who Larry is. And he's like, dude, come on. I know you know who he is. Bottom line, people are talking. The guy has missed 2 press conferences now. He hasn't been into the office. He hasn't talked to his wife or anything. So people are starting to ask questions. So I advise, before you want this to end up on the news, and you know kidnapping is a federal offense, like it is a felony, you don't want this in your life. So I advise that you get him home safely. Eddie is like, I still don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, get him back home safely now. It's just a warning, okay? And if you don't know where he is, where are you? And Eddie is like, why are you asking me those questions? He said, so then Lucian says, then why are you in the middle of nowhere next to a random box truck? And so then Eddie is like, hey, don't be doing that FBI stuff on me. And Lucian is like, dude, you shouldn't have picked up your phone. You knew I was going to track you, okay? Bottom line, get him home safely. Hope he doesn't press charges against you, but you need to get him home right now because people are talking and you don't want this to end up on the news. I don't know what's going on, but get it together. And then Eddie was like, yeah, whatever. And then he gets off the phone. So then Eddie is like, dang it. Well, I guess it's time for you to go home, Larry. Well, what a better way to wake you up than to literally like pee on you. Like, let's just call Eddie R. Kelly, basically. Like, that is disgusting. Okay, so Eddie proceeds to pee on him to try to wake him up, and Larry doesn't wake up. So Eddie's getting irritated, like, oh, you want to play dead? And even like touches his neck to see like if he has a pulse. And I don't know if Larry is dead or if he just has like a faint pulse, or I don't know. But then he decides like, oh, you want to play dead? Get up, get up. Larry is legit not getting up, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I hope he's not dead. This will be horrible. Okay? Absolutely horrible. But then again, if he's alive, Larry is not going to just let bygones be bygones. If he's one of the best lawyers in town, he is going to make sure that Eddie ends up behind bars. But anyways, since he won't wake up, Eddie decides to get in his truck and drive off. Okay, so then we have Brad. Brad, this can be real quick because I literally hate Brad and Marcy's scenes because I think their whole relationship is a mess. A ridiculous mess. And the way that it came together was just absolutely ridiculous, just out of revenge. But whatever. Marcy is in the hospital. She's still not feeling great. Brad walks in, tries to calm her down, tells her to breathe, and all of that. She's basically freaking out because she hasn't gotten any results back from the doctor yet. So she doesn't know if she's miscarrying this baby or if it's just regular pregnancy complications. But whatever. She's in pain at this point. Her phone rings. It's Ian. What's his face? face. Brad is telling her not to answer because she needs to stay calm. And she said, no, I do need to answer. I was supposed to get some paperwork to him. Can you go ahead and answer it? So Brad answers and says, hey, Mars can't come to the phone right now. Then he's like, she's in the hospital or something. So then Ian is concerned. And then Marcy ends up taking the phone from Brad anyway. And I'm like, girl, if you was going to take the phone 30 seconds later, you should have just answered the phone. But whatever. She tells him, I'm sorry, I'll get that paperwork to you. I'm just in the hospital right now. He freaks out. He's like, what hospital are you at? I will come see you. And she's like, no need for that. He was like, no, I want to come, blah, blah, blah. She's like, I can't stop you from coming. If you want to come, sure, great. Whatever. And then she passes the phone back to Brad. Brad tells him exactly what hospital she's in and what room number and all of that. So then Ian gets off the phone, like writes it down on a piece of paper, calls like his secretary or something to make sure they notify him when Larry does get back in the office, and he rushes to the rescue for Marcy. Marcy is the damsel in distress for everybody. I mean, literally, like I noticed this is something I've heard from people. Men like to feel like wanted, like you need me in some type of way. And some women are so independent and like, I don't need a man for nothing, so you make him feel like he has no purpose in your life. But like Marcy, she plays the total opposite. Like, I need you for everything. Oh my gosh, I have a flat tire. Oh my gosh, I broke a nail. Oh my gosh. Like, but in this case, she has pregnancy complications, so she really does need support. Although she has a bunch of other female friends she could have called, she decided to call somebody's husband instead. I don't agree with that. But whatever. So then we get to Randall. Randall is at home. He leaves a voicemail for Larry. Hey, dude, I'm looking for you. What's going on? He happens to look at his laptop and notices like the camera that he used to have on his house watching Alex's house, that camera is still on. Remember, Brad took that camera down, snatched it down, and took it into his house. Therefore, his conversations he was having with his wife, Alex, were being recorded. So then in Tyler Perry world, Randall presses play on the laptop and the camera starts playing at exactly the point when Alex and Brad were having the conversation about the DNA being switched and how the baby really is Randall's baby. So Randall is like furious. Like at this point, he grabs his laptop and literally starts heading straight over to Alex's house. Meanwhile, at Alex's house, we see Alex giving the babysitter instructions before she leaves for the baby and for the kids when they get off the bus at 3. So she starts to leave out the door and bam, Randall is like hand up on the door, like hanging there waiting, and was like, why would you do this to me? She's like, what? He's like, why would you do this? She closes her door because she doesn't want the babysitter to hear what's going on. She's like, what are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. And then she's like, just get away from me. So then all he has to do is simply click play on the recording and she hears the conversation. So she's like, oh my gosh, Randall, I can't, and like she's about to say I can explain, but he's like, you disgusting, lying behind witch. Okay, of course I just edited that for y'all, but he's like, you disgust me. And so he's like, you're gonna pay for this. Alex is like, I'm so sorry, and like really pleading with him, and she's like, I don't know what else to say. And then he's like, tell me who did it. She's like, I'm sorry, I can't tell you that. Now personally, we know that the doctor said she didn't do it. Y'all remember that episode from a long time ago when the girl came and swabbed Randall's mouth for the DNA and she swabbed Lucian's mouth? I'm thinking, and her name was Tippa Haynes. I only remember her name because the title of the episode was Tippa Haynes. So in my mind, I'm thinking, why would they name an episode title off of just like a person that was only going to have like one feature, like one appearance in the entire season? Like clearly for them to name an episode after her, she had to have been important in some type of way. And so I'm feeling like maybe because she didn't like Randall's attitude when he was over there, maybe that's why she switched the DNA. Maybe she did. I don't know, but like that's the only conclusion I can come to for whatever reason. But she says, Alex proceeds to say she doesn't know what happened. She's so sorry. And he's like, tell me the truth. She's like, I can't tell you the truth. basically she's not going to throw her doctor under the bus. And so Randall was like, okay, that's cool. My lawyers will get it out of you, and the person who is responsible for this, I will ruin their life. Alex is like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Randall is like, get away from me. Get off my yard. He's walking back to the backyard. She's like begging and pleading with him. Like, please, Randall, hear me out. I'm so sorry. Blah, blah, blah. I'm following him to the backyard into the barn. So she's like, hear me out. Look, we both made mistakes. And he's like, I didn't make a mistake. All I ever did was love you. And she's like, no, you know that we were both wrong. We were both married. Okay. You knew I was weak. You knew what I liked, and you knew exactly what I wanted. And then he's like, I still know what you want and where you're weak, and like kind of like looks up and down her body. So this is a real intense moment. And then so she's like, yeah, you do. Only now you use that against me to like wreak havoc in my life. And then so Randall is like, you had your father try to kill me. You went too far. And Alex was like, you tried to take my child from me. That's the only reason why I did this. Like, I feel like you started this war. Randall is like, no, you started the war, but I'm going to end it. And then he says, it'll end when you are far from here and I have that baby. I don't have to look at you every day. Now, remember, he's filing a lawsuit against Brad. So he basically wants them to lose everything and have no choice but to move, because he really does actually have, like, I don't know if he has an obsession with Alex or if he really loves her, but he doesn't want to see her like fake happy over there, like living this family life with his child. She's like, she said, Alex says, you have a child with your wife. Why don't you just leave me alone? And he's like, I don't know that. And Alex is like, trust me, like that is your baby. And then she was like, please, the baby is just right next door to you. You don't have to do this. You don't have to go that far. And Randall at one point had said, like, really, you're going to turn a crazy man crazier. Like, that's all you're doing. You won't be next door to me very soon. I'll tell you that. You're going to be getting out. And then so Alex is like, okay, drastic times call for drastic measures. This is what she's thinking in her head. And she says, I know you still want me. And Randall's like, girl, get out. And so then Alex is like, no, I know you still want me, and you can have me if you decide to drop this and don't go any further. So she's basically like going to give herself up just to like keep him calm. But she knows dealing with Randall, like he wants to have his cake and eat it too. Like you're basically going to sleep with him for no reason, and it's going to come out because he's going to get mad one day and he's going to show off to Brad because they go back and forth. Oh, I slept with your wife. No, I slept with your wife. It's going to come out in the open. This is a very stupid decision on your part. But whatever. He was like, so they start to get closer and closer. And he was like, I want you in what type of way? I can have you in what type of way? So then Alex says, you can have me in any type of way. I just don't want to lose my son, and I don't want to lose Brad. And I'm like, girl, you definitely gonna lose Brad after this. But then Randall says, okay, take off your clothes. Get undressed. It's about to go down. Horrible decision she's making. Absolutely horrible. But whatever, we shall see what happens on next week's episode. If you've gotten this far in the video, you may as well subscribe if you're not a part of the family. I mean, come on now. You made it this far. Anyways, as always, like, comment, subscribe, and check me out at mrsblogaholic.com. Bye.